This week on Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show, we are in New Zealand. We're chasing after one of my favorite fish, yellowtail kingfish. We're hooking up with a local legend in Kerry Flowers.
Oh yes, he's a good solid fish. Oh.
This guy has caught fish all over this island, and he promises to show us where the hot spots are. Stick around, it's gonna be a great show.
This week on Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show with Jim Salmons. Jim heads to the North Island of New Zealand to fish with local legend Kerry Flowers for monster kingfish, otherwise known as yellowtail in North America. Joining him is local Jackson Kayak pro, Brent Klink.
So we're meeting up with Kerry Flowers, one of the local legends up here in Cooper's Beach, heading out to one of his spots that's quite a fair way out. And hopefully get some really big kingies, and the kingfish put on a really good fight, and they're a really good tasting eat.
We had a long talk last night, and he's got this place pretty wired. He knows the spot, so I plan on listening intently to at least the locations, and then I'll try some of my stuff, see if it works. If not, I will go over to the old mechanical jigs, but I want to try one of my jigs first just to see how it does.
So I'm Kerry Flowers. I'm a kayak fisherman in New Zealand, in the far north of New Zealand, on the east coast. This behind me is Doubtless Bay. This is where I mainly fish. But I live only 3/4 of an hour away from here, well, from my favourite launch site. So it's just so easy for me. It's the closest, easiest place where I can get into good fish.
Kerry Flowers is, I guess for lack of a better term, kind of a local kayak fishing legend here in New Zealand. He is the first person to catch a paddle out marlin from a kayak in New Zealand. So very well respected. Because he's a paddler that is willing to put in miles to go out there and find the spots. And he definitely knows the spots. I mean, where he took us, he had that area very dialed in. I mean, he showed me a shot of his GPS, and he has all these different spots marked in that he worked long and hard and put in a lot of paddling miles to find. He paddles hard and he fishes hard. The guy just, I mean, he was a machine when it came to mechanical jigging. Which is that, that really erratic motion. And he just did it. And you watched him paddle, the guy is a very good paddler. He made that Kraken fly across the water.
The weather's always quite warm up here. The water is definitely a lot warmer than further down a bit south. We have some really good kingies or yellowtails and some really big snapper up this way.
Kerry got on a nice one on the mechanical jigging, man. Came out to a high spot. Didn't see a lot on the meters, but a little scratch here and there. And this looks like a really good fish.
It's not that big, but
I'd take that all day long, brother. Beautiful yellowtail kingfish. Whew. Woo. Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
The day has only just begun and the hits keep on coming. When we return, Jim and the guys see how many fish they can catch before their arms just give out. Welcome back to Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show. Jim, Carrie, and Brent are already on the water and smashing fish, and the day has only just begun.
Remember that sore elbow I had? It's back. Oh, isn't that cute? What's that gonna be when it grows up? Nice, man. Good job, Brent.
This is Brent's little skipjack tuna. He's just pulled up on a jig. It's quite a good effort for a jig. They don't often catch these on a jig, so that's pretty cool. And I just got totally railed by a very large kingfish, which took me into the reef and broke my leader off. So now I need to tie a new jig on and try again. Okay, so now we're going to rig up for another jig because the last kingfish that reefed me took my jig. So I've got one here that's already rigged with a hook on it, and has been quite successful for me in the past. So I think we will just tie that one straight on and get back into it.
Well, I've always said, you know, when you're going to a new location, one of the smartest things you can do is to hire a local guide. You know, those guys are on the water all the time. If you don't have that ability, at least hook up with a guy who fishes an area regularly and knows how to fish that area. So being able to tap into a resource like Carrie, who does have an area so wired, just makes all the difference in whether you are going to a spot and catching a fish or spending half your day trying to find a spot. And not only that, just knowing the techniques and what you should be doing at a particular location. So it's always a good idea to hook up with a local and get their information, pick their brains as much as you can. And you got a guy like Carrie who is so willing to share that information with us. It just made for what could only be called just a spectacular trip. I mean, we could not have had the success we had without being out there with Carrie.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Triple hookup, beautiful fish, look at that. So strong, so much fun. Woo-hoo! Boom! Yeah! So nice to have that fish finder hold you over the spot, built-in GPS, so we marked the spot that Carrie told us about, and able to stay over the top of that. You see a school of bait or a school of fish down below, you drop on it and bam, you're on.
Because this last fish had me in the reef, I want to check my leader and I want to make sure that it's not too rubbed, and I can actually feel some abrasions on this here, so I'm going to cut it back. I'm going to feel it until I can't feel any abrasions. I've got about a 5 meter leader on this reel, so I can come back a bit until I can't feel any more abrasions, and then I'll cut it and I'll tie it there. Any little nick or abrasion in the leader will significantly weaken the leader.
I was jigging, similar to what Carrie was doing. I didn't have any lures or anything like that, like what Jim has, where he was just doing the yo-yo jigging, I think he'd call it. So when I caught my first kingfish off a kayak, it was actually quite exhilarating. Something so small, a small boat, for an example, and you're pulling up a 15 kilo, 32 pound kingy that tows you around and screams out line at the same time, you know, it's very, very exhilarating.
I think one of the cool things about New Zealand, and maybe it's just because of the proximity to the water, there's water everywhere. Seems like everybody here has kayaks, everybody here has boats, and everybody here fishes.
This feels like a small one.
It didn't matter if we were walking into a grocery store, a clerk would ask us about fishing. You know, if they knew we were fishing, there were comments about fishing. Everybody here fishes. There's a very passionate community of kayak fishermen here. We saw that when we came here our first time 6, 8 years ago. And that just has grown and grown. There are communities of kayak fishermen all over New Zealand. And the thing is, there's not really that many people in New Zealand, but there's these big communities of kayak fishermen. So they have competitions on a regular basis. There is banter between the different clubs. It's a passionate group, and it's just really fun to be a part of.
I'm here, dude. Boy, you know what? This fish is not as big as I thought he was. He sure fought a lot harder than he is big.
When we come back, the guys are joined by old friend Jason Walker as he tries to catch his first kingfish from a kayak.
Well, this is what happens when you get a lively kingfish on the line and a bronze whaler shark wants to have a free feed. There's not much you can do about it because they just come in and they smack you. They're known as the tax men for a reason, and he's taken the best part of that fish.
So once I was jigging for some kingfish, we're sitting about 65, 70 metres of water. I think I was on my 4th or 5th kingfish, and I felt the line slowly tugging, and I knew that something wasn't right here. The shark grabbed it, swam behind me, started towing me backwards into Jim's line. So we got our lines tangled there, and it started swimming away, taking quite a bit of line. I was actually, to be honest, I was kind of a bit scared. So the lessons that I learned from once the shark started coming up, it done a straight dive. My rod was hanging over the edge of the kayak. Once it done the straight dive, I should have pulled my rod around and dipped the rod into the actual water beside the kayak, but just a learning experience. As the shark dove, it snapped the rod on the edge of the kayak, and all part of the learning experience. Just got busted off by looked like a big bronzy, so definitely wasn't a mako. Oh, new rod, hopefully a new reel.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
First shark on the kayak.
All right, well, last time we were in New Zealand, sharks were a big issue. Lost a lot of fish to the shark, so brought my shark shield and have it ready, hook a fish, just turn it on, let me land my fish. Just gonna strap it right onto here, hang it off the side, hook a fish, turn it on. Boom, that's all there is to it. I got peace of mind. Sharks are not gonna get my fish. Nice one.
Great kingfish, thanks Kerry. My first legal kingfish off a kayak. Nearly 10 years kayak fishing, never done it. Done it today.
So we are vertical jigging out here. So you want to have a shorter rod with a soft tip. This thing's 6 feet. Nice soft tip so you can get that good action while you're jigging. The reel I'm using is a Truth large game narrow. It's very comfortable in your hand, and when you're doing a lot of that retrieving, it's easy to get your line level wind. The reel is filled with Seagar Threadlock 80-pound hollow core braid. On top of that, we're using 80-pound Seagar fluorocarbon leader. And heavier, because these fish are big and they're right down in the rocks. You need that heavy line so you can fish basically a locked drag, so you can keep those fish out of the rocks. That's what you're using on the trip this week.
I'm gonna go for a bit of a swim, see if I can find us some dinner, crayfish or two, hopefully. It's a bit dirty, so it's going to be a little bit hard, but I've got pretty good knowledge in this area, so once I find a landmark, I should be able to find the holes. By that time, pretty much everyone's arms were knackered. We were pretty sore. We'd been at it for quite a while, so we headed off in. I had a quick little dive on the coast for the guys and managed to score a couple of crayfish for tea. And then we headed back in and we made a plan for day 2. So we're gonna clean up this shark-bitten fish and extract what meat we can off it. There's no point in wasting it. So I'm just gonna cut it off here. I'm not sure. I've heard there is an issue with bacteria around the bite. I've done this plenty of times, and I've even eaten it raw after a shark's had it and not had an issue. So I don't know, possibly if you're in the tropics it's worse, but I just tend to just trim away the rough bits and then extract what meat I can from the carcass.
The first day comes to a close and the guys finally get a chance to enjoy the fruits of their labor. They have one more day ahead to hit the pins and see if they can crack their personal best.
I think I'll catch another one.
Welcome back. This week, Jackson Kayak's kayak fishing show is in New Zealand, hunting the North Island for hard-fighting kingfish. It's day 2, and the guys have already been beat up by furious fights on big fish. They have one more day to fish with Carrie, and they get up early to take full advantage of the calm water. So far, the guys have had it easy with the fish in almost every drop, and today is looking to be exceptional.
I don't do much in the way of mechanical jigging. I don't do a whole lot of yo-yoing either. And at least it's been a while, and it takes a lot out of you, because it's either doing this erratic motion and very quickly, or the straight grind. And just winding as fast as you can all day just gets exhausting. But with that said, it's probably one of the most exciting, most vicious hits you will ever get while fishing is on a straight, fast grind, because you're winding as fast as you can. I mean, you cannot wind faster than these fish can swim. And I mean, if you just picture that, winding as fast as you can, and all of a sudden your lure just stops and starts ripping the other direction. And we're fishing heavy line, very tight drags to keep the fish out of the rocks, and all of a sudden your rod is just like pinned down on your side, pinned to the side of the kayak, and you're just like, it's like, oh my God. There was a lot of grunting and groaning going out there, going, oh.
We came to a new spot, 2 drops, 2 fish. I'm on my 3rd fish. This feels like a decent one. I tell you, it is so nice and so important really to have that fish finder and GPS, because I keep you were drifting quite a bit, so use the GPS to get back to the spot, and the fish finder to let you know exactly where on the spot when you want to drop. Oh yeah, nice fish. Very nice fish. This is my biggest on the trip so far. He inhaled that frickin' jig. Oh, it carries on with a smoker. This has got him going in reverse.
Now, there he goes running. So I've finally got my fish up off the bottom, and we're sitting right on top of a school of fish now, and the marks here are just fantastic. They're just absolutely amazing. I've got a pretty reasonable fish on, and he's still running. I've had him on for about probably nearly 5 minutes now, and he's still got plenty to go. Oh. And he's just a dogged fish. He just does not want to come up. Big, strong, powerful kingfish. We've got a bit of current here, so he's using the current to his advantage. Good airflow flowing, or good current flow flowing past his gills, so he's not getting tired quickly. But I'm sure I'm going to win this one. He's a good, solid fish. Oh yes, he's a good, solid fish. Oh. Well, mate, they're fantastic to eat.
Yeah,
they're
man.
absolutely fantastic to eat. Oh wow, what a fish.
There you go.
Yeah.
We have had an incredible few days here, fishing with Carrie Flowers, Brett Klink. Man, what a good time. And we still got days to go. Join us next week for more exciting action from us here in New Zealand.